So we've been discussing the data flow analysis in our previous modules, and we're going to dwell more upon DFA because it is such an important technique in compiler literature. So recall that we started with the discussion on how global optimizations require global information and how this information can be obtained using DFA or data flow analysis. And when we were discussing constant propagation, we were looking at a one variable, let's say x, and we're saying that we'll basically propagate this information throughout the control flow graph on whether x is a constant or not. And so for every point in the program, we would have a value for x, which could either be top, bottom, or some constant c. And we also said that, look, we are doing this only for a single variable for now, but if we want to do it for multiple variables, we can either run it separately for every variable, or we can do all the variables in one go. All right. So let's look at that in more detail. And so we're going to use an alternate representation of DFA. And the reason we're going to do that is because we are going to try to make our algorithm more efficient by doing multiple variables in one go. And we are interested in developing a common framework and a common set of structures with which we can implement lots of different data flow analyses within that structure and reason about properties. We have already reasoned about convergence of some of the data flow analyses that we've talked about. By convergence, I mean termination. For example, we said that the data flow analysis will finish within 4 into the size of the program, which is the number of statements in the program. But we didn't really talk anything about the optimality or the precision of the solution. So recall that we said a trivial solution is that everything is set to bottom in constant propagation, but that's not a very good solution. So we want a precise solution. So what's the guarantee that the solution that we are getting is actually a precise solution and things like that. So and I would like to point out here that the data flow analysis is typically organized as a system of equations between every program point and its neighboring program point. It could be the next program point or the previous program point, depending on whether it's a forward data flow analysis or a backward data flow analysis. And the algorithm to solve this system of equations is what is called a data flow analysis algorithm. And we have looked at the fixed point iteration algorithm, and we said that, look, it has convergence properties, and we said that let's assume that it also has good precision, but we're going to talk about precision later. So now we're going to actually discuss these properties in more detail. But before we do that, let's form let's look at DFA in a bit more detail. Let's look at alternate representations, and then we're going to make the mathematics more precise, the mathematics of the data flow analysis more precise in our discussion. So in the alternate representation of DFA, we will represent the constant information using sets. Okay, so we're going to use the same example of constant propagation to introduce this alternate representation of DFA. But unlike our previous discussion, where we were focusing on a single variable, here we're going to try to find constant information for multiple variables in one go. And to do that, we're going to represent this information as using sets. So the value is not going to be the value of a single variable x, but the value will be a set of value where each element of the set is going to store a value for every variable in the program, right? So something like that. So we're going to keep track of multiple variables simultaneously. And we're going to make some optimizations because we are doing this for multiple variables simultaneously. One easy thing to do here is that when we know that a variable is not is bottom, for example. So one of the values we can just encode by not having it in the set. So for example, if my set has the value, let's say, if I want to say x comma bottom and y comma 3, then I could, for example, just replace this by a single element set, singleton set y comma 3. So in other words, the non-presence or the absence of a value in the set could be construed as representing the fact that the value for that particular variable is bottom, right? So these are the kind of optimizations that are possible when you are doing multiple variables at once. So we're going to do this, and we're going to represent constant information using sets, and we're going to keep track of multiple variables simultaneously in our alternate representation. Okay, so here is an example program to show how our example is going to work, how our alternate representation is going to work. So it has 4 statements in a straight line sequence of instructions, a single basic block. Y is colon equal to 3, x is colon equal to y plus 4, y is again colon equal to 11 plus z, and then there's some expression, e, let's say, and then it's going to go in one or the other directions. Okay, so first of all, we need to figure out what are the program points, and we have already discussed this when we were discussing DFA in our previous slides. Just like before, we are going to have an in point for every statement. So let's say this is a statement D0, and I'm labeling each statement. So I say D0, D1, D2, D3 for the 4 statements, and then for every statement, I'm going to have a program point for the in location, which is just before that statement, and out of that statement, which is just after that statement, right? And so I'm going to call them in D0 and out D0 with the square brackets representation. And I can do this for all other statements as well. So I'm going to have in D1 and out D1, in D2 and out D2, and in D3. And because this is a control flow, I will probably not have, we'll also have out D3. I'm just not showing it here. So we're going to have out D3 also in this case, all right? And notice that there's a slight subtle difference between what I'm doing here and what I was doing in our previous discussion. The difference is that I have separate names for out D0 and in D1, although they actually represent the same program point. I mean, it's the program point that just follows D0 is the same program point that just precedes D1, but still I would prefer to use different names for them and say out D0 and in D1. And in this case, we can clearly see that in D1 will always be equal to out D0, yet we have decided to have different names for them, and this is because this just makes the mathematical representation of our DFA easier, as we're going to see in later modules. Okay, so all right, so now this is good. So let's start computing our DFA with our alternate representation. Recall this time that we are going to keep track of multiple values in one go. So let's assume that at in D0, the value is just the empty set, all right? So at the start of the program, we don't know anything about any constant. So by empty set, recall, I'm basically assuming that none of the variables are non-bottom. So empty set basically means that all variables are absent, and recall that we assume that any variable that's absent is basically assumed to be having the bottom value, and so just assume that everything is bottom, right? That's anyway the conservative answer. And so by empty set, we're just encoding the fact that all variables, at this point, all variables are just bottom. So we can't really say anything about those variables. Okay. And now we have to represent out D0 in as a function of in D0. It's a forward data flow analysis. So we have to relate out D0 with in D0. And notice that in this case, there's a assignment y is colon equal to 3. So y is being assigned a constant 3. So what do we expect? We expect that the tuple y comma 3 will be added to the set, and that's exactly what's happening. So we're going to say out D0 is whatever is in D0 union, this is the set union y comma 3, right? So we just add y comma 3 to in D0, and notice that I'm writing it in a generic way, right? So I could have just written y comma 3 because I know in D0 is an empty set, but I'm just trying to write it in a more kind of precise and mathematical form based on how it is being derived, right? And so it's being derived by just saying that whatever is in D0, just add your union y comma 3 to it. So if y comma 3 exists already, then it remains unchanged, but if y comma 3 doesn't exist, then y comma 3 will be added to in D0. And it's just a matter of fact that in D0 happens to be the empty set, in which case this just evaluates to the singleton set. All right, now when we know out D0, we also know in D1, and that's really easy. In D1 is just out D0, so they're just equal, right? We know that because they're the same program point. Now we know in D1, so we want to know what is out D1. Now this is very interesting, right? It is x is colon equal to y plus 4. We know that y is a constant. So how do we know y is a constant? Because y comma 3 exists in D1, right? So we know that y is definitely a constant 3, and so it is possible to infer from this information that x is also a constant 7 at out point of D1. So at out D1, x is the constant 7. But it really depends on how precise you want to make this. So if you do that, then you have to do your transfer function, which basically relates out D1 to in D1. It has to be a little bit more intelligent and slightly more expensive as a result, because it has to look through what are the expressions on the RHS and what are the variables that are being used in the RHS of the instruction, and then look them up in your value of in D1, and then based on that generate a value for out D1. So there are two options here, and the options depend on what is the precision of the transfer function we like. And that's a good thing about doing these things simultaneously, right? We can make things more precise. So apart from the fact that we can make things more efficient by using the set representation, we can also make things more precise because we can simultaneously reason about both x and y. And so, for example, if I had done y separately and x separately, then I wouldn't have been able to infer that x is 7. Why wouldn't I have been able to infer? Well, imagine if, let's say, I had done x first. Then I would have just said that x is not a constant, right? Because I don't know anything about y. And then I would have done y later, and then y would have just said it's 3, and that would have been the end. On the other hand, one could argue that if I had done x first, if I had done constant propagation for the variable x before doing constant propagation for the variable y, then I would so the other way around. So if I had done the constant propagation for variable y before doing the constant propagation for variable x, then I would have known that y is 3, and then while I am doing constant propagation for variable x, I could have used that information. But again, this relies on the order in which these variables are done, and also there is kind of this exchange of information between the two DFAs. The easier and the more principled way to do things is that you do these things simultaneously, right? So you do both x and y simultaneously, and that way you are guaranteed to have better precision. So it depends on the precision of transfer function. There's one option which basically says that you just implement a generic function which says f. So have some function f which represents the transfer function, which is basically also dependent on the instruction that's being executed. So D1. And then in this case, it's going to look at in D1, and based on that, it's going to give us y, 3 and x, 7. And the way this function is going to work is exactly what we discussed. It's going to look at the statement, it's going to look at the in value, and then based on that, it's going to compute the out value. And it's going to be a little bit of computation, because it's going to say that, okay, this is what the statement is, this is what the in value is, so this is what the out value should be. The other option is a simpler option, where you just say, okay, x is being assigned a value, it's an expression, and this expression is not a constant. And so I just say out D1 is in D1 minus anything that contains x, right? This is exactly what we had in our transfer function when we were talking about constant propagation in the context of a single variable as well. So they are both options, right? And of course, the first option is more precise. The second option is less precise. All right, but depending on how precise you want your algorithm to be, you could choose one or the other. And both are okay, and both are used in practice. The good thing about the second option though is that it comes in a standard template, right? So the out function, the transfer function can be represented as just as a set operator. So you have some set, and then you can say, okay, just subtract x from it. And that subtraction, the quantity that needs to be subtracted is just a function of what is the instruction. So if the instruction is assigning to x, then you subtract anything that has x in it from the set, right? So that's a good thing about option 2. It's simpler. Option 1 is more precise. Okay, so in fact, we can do the same thing. We can have the same representation even for the previous statement. So when we were looking at y is equal to 3, d0, then we were looking at the transfer function between in D0 and out d0. And there we could have written it as follows. Instead of just saying in D0 union y, 3, the more precise way to write it, or the more correct way to write it, is that you do in D0 minus anything that has y in it on the as the first part. So in D0 minus y commas, by this blank I mean it's a wild card. Think of this as a star. So in D0 minus y comma star union y comma 3. So remove anything that already has y, and then add y comma 3. And that's the right way to do it, right? Because let's say there was y comma 4 in D0, then we want to remove it before we add y comma 3. That's how it should be, all right? So now, just want to go back to our discussion and correct this. And so this is the right way of writing it. So in D0 minus y comma star union y comma 3. And this is a common pattern that you would find in many data flow analysis, that you remove some things, you remove some elements from the set, and then you add some elements to the set. So in this case, I'm removing y comma star and I'm adding y comma 3. Similarly here, I'm removing x comma star and I'm not adding anything, all right? So in this option 2, I'm not adding anything. Option 1 doesn't have this nice structure that they remove something and add something, because it actually is a more kind of nuanced function which uses both the in value and the statement to generate out, right? Both are okay, but let's look at, I'm just talking about the structure in option 2, and the structure is actually not present in option 1. Okay, so all right, so let's go with option 2 for now, because I wanted to kind of motivate the structure. So let's go with option 2, and then in D2 is just out D1. That's really easy. And then out D2, we want to have the same structure, and D2 is nothing but y colon equals y11 plus z, and that's just in D2 minus y comma star, right? I'm not generating any new constant value, but I'm killing or I'm removing some constant values, and any constant value for y should be removed because y is being assigned to a new variable. All right, so that's that, and then in D3 is just out D2, and then out D3 would also be just in D3, because D3 is not really modifying anything. Okay. All right, so that's part of the transfer function, and we're going to write, our transfer function is going to have a structure. First of all, the values are going to be sets, and the transfer function is probably going to be subtract something from that set and add something to the set by using the union operator. Okay. Now, also the other thing which is common among all the data flow analysis is what's called the meet function or the meet operator that we've also discussed when we're talking about DFA in the context of single variable. And in the case of the set representation of DFA, the meet operator is, once again, it's going to be a forward data flow analysis. So I need to represent the in of S as a relation to out of P1, P2, ... Pn, where P1 to Pn are predecessors of S. And so I want to basically say that in of S is a meet over out P1, out P2, and out Pn. So whatever are the values, and this time the values are sets, right? And recall that when we were talking about constant propagation in the context of a single variable, we had the notion of a partial ordering, and based on that partial ordering we were talking about the greatest lower bound. And so even in this case we were going to retain that thing, and we need to have a partial ordering on sets now, just like we had partial orderings on individual values. For example, we said top is greater than equal to any constant value is greater than equal to bottom. Here we want to say how are the different sets related, and we're going to talk about that in more detail. But one thing is very clear in constant propagation, that we want that something should be a constant at n of S only if it is a constant on all paths, on all predecessors, right? So on all program paths that reach S, it should be true that that value is a constant, and only then, and it should be the same constant, and only then we are going to consider that to be a constant at ns. And so what should be the GLB operator in this case? I'm not really discussed the ordering, but just from what we know about constant propagation, we know that for constant propagation this needs to be the intersection operator, because these are sets, and because this property needs to be true on all paths for it to be true at the current point. Whenever there are multiple predecessors, the value at in S should be an intersection of the values out of each of the predecessors. So in of S is going to be intersection of out P1 ... out Pn. So we need an ordering on these values and notice that these values are now sets such that the GLB turns out to be an intersection. So think about it. We're going to discuss this in subsequent modules, but think about it. What could be the ordering such that the GLB turns out to be the intersection? Okay, so here is so just to summarize, in this representation, out S is represented as a transfer function of in S, and so this f here is actually the transfer function, and that's how we are representing the DFA. So across a statement we are talking about the transfer function, and this is how the transfer function operates on the in value to generate the out value for any statement S. And then and often we find that out S can be represented as in S minus some set union some set, right? And this is what we've been discussing in the context of constant propagation. And so this set, which is subtracted, is a function only of the statement S and not of in S, right? It's independent of what is the value that's incoming. Whatever is the value that's incoming, depending on every statement, we are going to, depending on the properties of the statement, whether it's an assignment or it's a branch or whatever, and what is it assigning to, and so on. We're going to have a kill set, which is the set of things that will be removed from in S, and a gen set, which is the set of things that will be unioned or added to the set. And so this is a common pattern that we are going to find in many data flow analyses, where we're going to have a kill set associated with every statement and a gen set associated with every statement, and the transfer function is just going to look like, out S equals in S minus kill S union gen S. And also notice the order, the brackets, the parenthesization. We first kill and then gen, all right? And that, that makes a difference, right? If I gen first and then kill, then I'll often sometimes I can get a different answer from if I first kill and then gen. And you'll find, and the pattern that we find, including what we found in constant propagation, is that it makes sense to first kill and then gen, and that would be the right thing to do.